Hello, NTI Science students. We just finished our first test, and for the most part, they look good. However, some of you, not all of you, but some of you guys struggled a little bit on the metric conversions on the back. And while you had a method to look at that was helpful, all you had was a sheet of paper with some examples and kind of illustrating how to do the conversion. The latter method is a conversion system that was on that paper that I gave you. It was called Metric Mania. But it's something that I showed the kids how to use in class, and I think it's easier to see it used and understand it than to just read about it. So I thought I'd do a little video tutorial, send it to the kids that I think might need a refresher on it, and then I will give you an opportunity to retake that back section of your unit test, because I do feel like, had you seen this before, it might be helpful. This is based on the fact that the metric system is base 10, and whenever you're dealing with a base 10 system, it's really easy to do conversion because you can just drag the decimal point around rather than like gallon man when you were in second or third grade, where you had to memorize how many quarts in a gallon and pints in a quart and so on. This is just simple dragging a decimal point. So that's the nice part about it. There's a little mnemonic device to help you remember the prefixes and the order of the prefixes. That sounds kind of silly, but this is it. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. So that'll help you remember that system. Here's what these stand for. First of all, the B is the base unit. So in the metric system, we have a few base units. 2 words. Okay, the base units are, for length, the meter. For mass, which is kind of like weight, mass is the gram, lowercase g. And the one that's uppercase is the one that we use for volume, and that's the liter. You might consider the fact that you've probably bought soft drinks in a 2-liter bottle. The liter is the only capital letter, capital L, and the reason is because a lowercase l looks too much like a 1, and it's kind of confusing. So we use uppercase L. So those are our base units. You'll recognize a base unit in a conversion because it's a single letter all the time. If it has a second letter in front of it, a prefix, that tells us it's one of these others, and that's how you'll discern that. We'll practice a few of those in a minute. So the K up here stands for kilo. And that's 1,000 times one of these units. So if it's 1 meter, kilometer is 1,000 meters. The H is hecto. Oh, kilo, by the way, is lowercase k. Hecto is lowercase h. And these show up as letters in front of each of these. The D here is deca, like kind of like decade. That probably sounds familiar to you. And we use DA for this one because there's another D down here. We don't want to get these two confused, so we actually do use 2 letters on this. All the rest of them are single letter prefixes. We get down to this end, we're now lower than 1. This is 1, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. Once we start going down here, it's 1/10, 1 100th, 1 1,000. So this one is deci. So if you think about like decimal, it's the first decimal place. That might be something easy to remember. The C is centi. And the M is milli. So again, base unit is 1, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. This is why this works. Base unit being 1, this is 1/10, 1 100th, 1 1,000. And centi is lowercase c, milli is lowercase m. All right, so this is our basic helpful system for doing metric conversion. So let's try a few together. I'll show you how to utilize this system to make conversion really easy for you. All right, so let's start with an example, 3.14159. And let's make this kilograms, and we want to convert that to grams. All right, so here's your first step. First, look at the unit you're starting with, right here. Now notice this is 2 letters. What that tells me is it's not a base unit, it's a base unit with a prefix in front of it. So this is kilograms. That would be 1,000 times a gram, and gram is our unit for mass. So whenever it's 2 letters, look at the front letter, and that's a K. So that tells me I'm going to start right here. Then I look at where I'm going. This is our single letter here. So if it's a single letter, not double like that, but single, that tells us it's a base unit. Base units are always single letters, the other ones are not. So I'm ending there. All right, so if I start here and I'm ending there, I need to move my decimal point 1, 2, 3 places to the right. So I take my decimal point from where it began and I move it 1, 2, 3 places to the right, and that's its new position. So my answer is 3,141.59. And all I did was drag the decimal point. Okay, so let's try another one. All right, let's do Let's do 0.4567. Totally lacking imagination here, picking up numbers. And this time, let's go from hectoliters to milliliters. Okay? Hectoliters to milliliters. So, same thing as before. Always look at the unit you're beginning with. This is where we're beginning. Let's look at that unit. If it's a single letter, it's a base unit, but it's not. It's 2 letters. That tells me it has a prefix on it. So I look at the front letter. That's an H. That tells me I'm starting here. And where I'm going, again, look at the units. It's 2 letters. Look at the front letter. That's an M. So I'm going here. Starting there, going here. So let's see how many places to move. And it looks like I'm going to go right again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the right. So I take my decimal point, I'm going to work down here just so you can see it better. And I'm going to move it 5 places to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now notice I ran out of digits. Not a problem, just fill in a 0 whenever that happens to you. So my answer is 45670. Or 45,670. Now both of these that we've done so far, we've moved to the right. This system works either direction, so let's do one where we're going to move to the left. Let's do 216 millimeters. And let's convert that to meters. Okay, now I picked this number for a couple of reasons. First of all, I wanted to move this direction, but the other reason is some kids get confused if they don't see a decimal point. They're not really sure where it is. So if you look at the number and there's no decimal point shown, it's always at the end of the number, like a period at the end of a sentence. So that's where that decimal point is. Okay, same method we've been using. Let's start with this one. Not a single letter. That tells me to look at the front one, which is an M. I go up here and I see my M is right here. That's where I'm starting. Then I look at what I'm converting to. Now this is a single letter. If it's one letter by itself, that tells me it's a base unit, one of these 3 letters, so that's where I want to go. Starting at the M, moving to the B. So that tells me I need to move 1, 2, 3 places to the left. So I grab my decimal point from where it is and I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 places to the left. And my answer is 0.216. Now let's do one more together and make sure you've got the hang of it. And then you can always go back and re-practice some of the sheets that I put up for you. try to rework those, and I think you'll find it'll go way faster than it did the first time because you have this method to help you. Okay, so let's do, separate these a little bit. Let's do a really tiny, tiny number. Let's try, 5 zeros there and a 7. Let's do that. Okay, and this time let's go from milligrams to kilograms. Milligrams to kilograms. Okay, so same thing we always do. Look at the unit you're starting with. 2 letters, so I use the front letter to tell me my starting point, and that's an M. So that's milli. I look at where I'm going, also 2 letters, so I look at the front, and that's a K, so that must be kilo, right here. So I'm going from milli to kilo. I'm going pretty much as far as I could go here. I'm heading to the left. So let's count our spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places to the left. So let's take our decimal point from where it started, move it 6 places to the left. 1, 2, 3, I'm gonna have to erase here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my gosh, we started with a small number. Well, we're ending with a tiny number. So my answer is point, I have to count all these zeros. Point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 zeros and a 7. Wow, that is tiny. And that's how many kilograms that converts to. So no matter how weird, big or small the number is, it works perfectly on this scale. Use this to tell you not only what direction to move your decimal point in, but how many places. And it'll never fail for you. Now, the one thing to always keep in mind, again, is being able to recognize that base unit by it being a single letter. Otherwise, if it's 2 letters, look at the prefix, the front letter, and that'll guide you. So do some practicing with this, and then I will contact you and offer you a retake on the back part of that test so that we can improve your grade on this. And I hope this really helped you to see it used and to see it's really a pretty easy system.